Yes, hello and welcome to you all to what will be the 10th episode of Weird Mind Newsroom. Yes, it's already been 10, that's crazy. Well, you know the drill with this series already. We're going to talk about the new releases, we're going to talk on the trailers, and we're talking on the news. And there's quite a good bit of content this week, so let's not waste too much time and get right into it, shall we?
Freddy, now, Freddy, now, Freddy!
Our first release from this week is coming from a studio in Hollywood that actually gives a damn about paying and respecting their actors and writers, and that is with A24 and their all-new horror movie of Talk to Me. That sees a group of teens with forms of fears and traumas of the past become much more of a serious focus when participating in a spiritual possession from the use of a strange porcelain hand. Now, while I may not have provided much of an exciting plot summary, the film has been getting some pretty great reception and is one of the better reviewed horror films of recent memory and on a very small but modest budget. And if you want some scares, you can check it out as it's available now from this weekend. And for our second film of this week is coming to us from the streaming service of Paramount Plus, and courtesy of an all-new film based on the popular series from Nickelodeon, and that is with a sequel film to the show of Zoe 101 with Zoe 102. Now this new film will see the classmates of PCA that we followed in that series, well, most of them, as they get all together to extend the wedding of Logan and Quinn, and we'll see past brought back and possible romances rekindled. It's mostly focused on Zoe, what I've seen from footage online. Now reception has seemed to be mixed, a lot more sort of a bit underwhelming on YouTube, but from what I've seen, but you know, reboots of old series and go on from a children's channel to a more adult form comedy can be very odd and confusing. Just ask my opinions on the iCarly reboot, which I will probably talk about in its own separate video somewhere in the future. But if you want to check it out, it is available now on Paramount Plus. Speaking of reboots, again, we have jumped forward 1,000 years into the future as we return to the series of the Planet Express crew with the new series of Futurama. Now this one will see the characters get more new hijinks, with the case of there's more discussions of the romance of Fry and Leela, the outcome of Kif and Amy's tadpoles, and delve into more present day aspects like, you know, streaming services, crypto, and all the reliance on online shopping. Now, I was initially skeptical about this, and then after the recent trailer and watching the first episode that released last week, I think I judged it a little bit too much. And I enjoyed the first one for what it was, and it had its charm still. And if you want to check it out, it is available now, releasing weekly on Hulu in the US and on Disney Plus here in the UK and Ireland. Now next up is everyone's favourite angel and demon of Michael Sheen and David Tennant are back once again with the second season of the popular Prime series of Good Omens. That will see Azrael and Crowley work together to protect the Archangel Gabriel, who has appeared at Azrael's bookshop, and must stop the forces of heaven and hell from creating a complete and total Armageddon on Earth. Now the reception has been very positive as well for this series, like the original season. And if you want some mischief and some possible, like, you know, special other aspects, then you could check out the full season now on Amazon Prime. On the last of the TV shows for this week as well is on the other side of the streaming with the streaming giant of Netflix, as we have the final 2 episodes to the 3rd season of The Witcher for you to check out. That will also see Henry Cavill play the role of Geralt of Rivia for the very last time, before he is somehow magically recasted as in the role as Liam Hemsworth. Now, reception for these last 2 episodes have been very quite mixed, and it may see a dip once the new season comes along. But for all it's worth, we will say one thing. Thank you, Henry Cavill, for providing probably the best version of Geralt as we could possibly have, because we know you love the series. And, you know, Netflix, what were you doing? You got rid of the guy that actually gave a damn about your series and just kept the writing staff that basically didn't give a shit about the series. So we'll have to see what happens when season 4 comes around, but who knows when that is. And onto the gaming side of things, this is technically not a full game release, but it is an expansion to it. Now, 2 years ago, in 2021, there was the game that released was Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. Now, we've gotten its DLC package in the form of Ruin. This new expansion will see you return to the remains of the Mega Pizzaplex that you took control in the first game, and this time take on the role of the character of Cassie, a friend of the original game's story character of Gregory, who enters this ginormous facility in hopes of trying to rescue his friend, who has found themselves trapped underneath all the large facility. And you make your way through this, what remains of this giant corporation's like corpse, as you find all these animatronics and find your friend Gregory, get out there and save the day with the help of some new weapons and power-ups. Now, I've seen the reception has been well liked for its length, its scare factor, and it's better polished than the original game's release. And if you own the full game, you don't have to pay any money because it's available for free. And I will probably check it out once I get around to playing the actual game and the DLC as well. But, is the question, are you ready for Freddy, is the real question. And our final release of this week is coming to us from the world of Disney, with an all-new visual platformer based on the popular Mouse and his friends in Disney's Illusion Island. In this game, you take on the role of Mickey Mouse, Minnie, Donald, and Goofy, as you travel across the mysterious islands of Monoff and recover 3 special artifacts to save the land from total disaster. Now, reception for this game has been well received for its charm and animation styles, and for its fun factor, especially with co-op. I'm sure I probably will give this a play when I get the chance on the go with my Nintendo Switch. I mean, the game has a feature where you can hug your friend and you get a health boost. That's already a 10 out of 10 for me. But with that, of course, that is the end of all the new releases for this week. So starting off on our trailers this week, we have the first official look at the upcoming spin-off to the popular Prime series of The Boys with Gen V, a spin-off that focuses on young adult soups being placed in battle royale challenges at the VOD-funded Godolphin University School of Crime Fighting. Now, it does have its basis on a comic line in the main series and will serve as a placement for the main series until that 4th season comes along, whenever that is, because I did mention it was delayed indefinitely, probably due to the strike. But you can enroll in the new university when it releases, begin streaming from September 29th. Now for a bit of horror news. Following on from his revival trilogy of the Halloween franchise, in which case the 2018 one was pretty decent and the other 2 were pretty much rough from what I've heard from reception, director David Gordon Green is bringing a new revival form to another classic horror film franchise from at the same time, with a spiritual sequel that most likely retcons all the other sequels that followed, and that is with The Exorcist, with the beginning of a new trilogy that we'll see with Exorcist Believer. Now, this new one will see 2 young girls become the target of a demonic possession and soon get the assistance to save them from their possessions of the demons, with the aid of the mother and daughter of Chris and Regan McNeil from the original Exorcist movies. Now, this is the planned new trilogy, with a sequel confirmed releasing in about 2 years' time in Easter 2025. This is coinciding with the 50th anniversary of the original Exorcist movie, but to catch this new one will not be too much longer, as it releases on Friday the 13th of October. And we'll have a clash with another film I talked about recently from last week that's made by BuzzFeed and based on the Twitter thread, so most likely I feel like we already know who the winner is in this situation. Next up, if you've been on social media at some point in time, mainly the animation side of things, you may have at some point come across some of these images of small blue aliens doing normal human things, and now has been turned into an all-new animated series courtesy of us from Apple TV, the creator of the webcomics and one of those involved in the series of Rick and Morty with Strange Planet, which will see these little blue alien creatures try and do normal human things in a strange new world. This, I'm sure, will be a nice wholesome watch, and you can catch it shortly when it releases on August 9th. On the next TV show trailer of this week, and one that is also coming out in the next 2 weeks, we have finally gotten the full trailer for the upcoming 3rd season to Only Murders in the Building, that will see Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez return once again as their characters of Charles, Oliver, and Mabel respectively, as they investigate the sudden death of the main lead of Oliver's new Broadway show return on opening night. Now, the reception, what I've seen so far has been pretty good, and I really enjoyed the first 2 seasons, besides the weird cameo choices in season 2, but, Anyway, I will definitely be checking this out when the series premieres and releases weekly from August 8th. On the last of the TV show trailers for this week, if you've been around on Netflix for around 2017 or 2018 for the course of the next 3 or 4 years, you may remember an adaptation of a video game series that was known as Castlevania. It was a pretty good show, I will say that. Well, it is coming back with an all-new series that's known simply as Castlevania Nocturne, and we have a trailer for it this week. This new series will be adapted from the games of Rondo of Blood and the critically acclaimed Symphony of the Night, and this one will follow another member of the Belmont family, in this case Richter Belmont, as he joins forces with an unlikely crew of vampire hunters and magicians to prevent a vampire-induced apocalypse during the French Revolution in 1792. Now, Now, the visuals look fantastic, and I'm sure this will be worth a watch when it releases in 2 months' time on September 29th. And the final trailer for this week was initially going to be part of next week's one, but since it's still released on Sunday, I might as well add it in. And that is the 10th film in the Saw franchise, known simply as Saw X. Now, this new series is set in between Saw 1 and a prequel to Saw 2, and we'll see John Kramer be tricked into a fraudulent treatment, and he exacts his revenge in a very visceral and tormentorous way with all of his death traps and contraptions. Now, I myself could take or leave this franchise, mainly particularly because I have an intense fear of blood and extreme gore, but if you want to check it out, all of his death traps and stuff, you can release on what's now been dubbed the Saw Patrol on September 29th, because it's released the same day as Paw Patrol, the Mighty Movie. And that's basically the trailers for this week. I do have one other trailer, but you can check it out on my blog. I want to have a bit of a mix and stuff. But that's all the trailers for this week.
What are you doing in my swamp?
Okay, first on our news stories, we're just going to get straight into this tech news. And this, of course, coming again once again from Twitter and its CEO, Elon Musk. Now, Twitter has been seeing it get worse and worse with many of the decisions made by Musk, but he doesn't care a lot, as people will still lick his arse and suck his dick with all the questionable choices. But now, earlier this week, it was announced that the social media is getting a name change and a brand change as well. And it's pretty much rough. It is no longer called Twitter, it's just simply called X. Now, this seems to contradict the whole fiasco of Musk suing Facebook and Meta and Mark Zuckerberg because they were making threads for Instagram that basically said it was a rip-off of Twitter, which just seems to be counterintuitive for him basically trying to copy off Meta, where he renamed the entire social media brand. So basically shows that Elon Musk is pretty much lazy and just copies and steals their ideas, thinking that'll make him make things work out more. Say that to the people that were being fired by you with a meme, and then I'm paying them dismissal payments that have now put you in a lawsuit, or your weird monetization payment scheme that needs to post like a fuck ton of posts a day and every month to make big money, which is also proven the point the case that you're paying a streamer that basically has very controversial opinions about women and is also on trial for sexual assault charges and human trafficking. If you know who I'm talking about, you know who I'm fucking talking about. But basically, to me, this sounds like less like a social media and more like this is a porn site or a site for one-night stands. And it's now to the point where like I've seen like Microsoft Edge and other like older like Chrome extensions basically flagged this as a suspicious site. You know that's something wrong. But what do you think of this name change and all the sudden attempts at changes from Musk? Do let me know what you think down below in the comments. Now move over Mario Kart, Crash Team Racing and Disney Speedstorm. There is an all-new kart racer coming out this year, I think, and it is in the form of DreamWorks All-Stars Kart Racing. The new game will see you play as characters from many different DreamWorks properties, including Shrek, Puss in Boots, Boss Baby, Kung Fu Panda, and many more, and tracks based in all those different universes too. Now, it is confirmed currently right now there's about 20 characters for the game, but I feel they will probably add more in free or paid DLC, just like updates and stuff. And 2 of them are currently only available with the deluxe edition, which is Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda and the Deaf Wolf from Puss in Boots The Last Wish. Then, I'm sure we'll probably see more of them in release either later this year, sometime next year. There'll probably be some backlash for that, and they'll probably release them as characters into the roster as well, not behind them deluxe version. But what do you think of this announcement? Are you excited for a new kart racer, or is there too many? And what is your favorite kart racer in general? Do let me know what you think of them down below. Now, this is one I don't want to delve too much in because this film is coming out as of recording tomorrow, and I will talk about more in next week's episode. But we have gotten some information about the upcoming new Ninja Turtles movie of Mutant Mayhem. Now, reception for this movie drops a bit earlier this week and have been as overwhelmingly positive as it was back when they released at the Annecy Film Festival. The full version of it is. Now, it still stayed its reception and currently sits with a pretty decent score on the same score as, I think, Spider-Verse right now. And it seems like another animated winner is on our hands. But before the reception started dropping, it was also confirmed from rumors earlier this week that there's already a planned sequel to the film in the works, as well as getting a new animated series based on this version of the franchise. Probably the same version as well. So, if you are a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, you're in for some good entertainment in the future, I will say. But what do you think of all the new Turtle news? And are you excited for Mutant Mayhem? Because I know I probably am. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Now, our next story talks about a video game and creepypastas. Now, in the form of an online medium that has seen its major popularity back when the internet was not so widespread back in the late 2000s and early 2010s, and they were seen as being very scary, where now they're seen as a joke. Young kids think it's cool that they can use them, be scared by them, and used in mods for odd games, and even to the point where a few of them are characters of horrors becoming sex symbols or LGBTQ icons. I'm looking at you, Babadook and Jeff the Killer. However, besides those two, there is one other character that many would be familiar with and has had an effect on the real world, and that is with the Slender Man. Now, the last time Slender Man was in the news was a movie from 2018 that sucked. Yeah, it was pretty bad. And before that, he was associated with an attempted murder of a young girl by two other young girls that are now in prison. That's a real story. This was about 10 years ago. But we're not talking about all that, but instead that there's been teased of a new game for Last While, and it was announced this week that Slender Man is coming back with an updated version of Slender the Arrival, and is also being added with something called The Lost Files. Now, we don't know too much as well about it, if it also includes a new full game or this is just a remaster of the 2013 game, but we will find out when the project itself releases sometime in October of this year. But are you excited to return to playing Slender Man again, or has the concept of the character become irrelevant and stupid to you? Do let me know what you think down in the comments below. And for our final story of this week was coming in as I was writing this week's article, as we return to the effects of the strikes. And in the world of media, it was announced with some big delays from the studio of Sony Pictures, with a few of them being moved around in release dates, as well as some date announcements, with one I will talk about delve into in a little bit. First off, we're going to talk about the first movie that's got delayed, Kraven the Hunter. Now, this movie was initially coming out on October 6th of this year, but now it's being delayed by nearly a whole year to August 30th of 2024. Next up on the list is Madame Web, which is not getting really delayed, but rather moved up by just 2 days from its February 16th date to Valentine's Day of next year. Thirdly is the Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel, which has yet to been officially titled. It's just basically known as Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, this was projected to release sometime in December of this year, but now instead released on the Easter weekend of March 29th. And take the spot of another film that I will talk about in a moment. And as for the two films that were actually announced release dates, we have the confirmation of a fourth movie in the Bad Boys franchise starring Will Smith and Martin Lawrence coming out on June 14th of next year. And then a month later on July 12th, we're getting our third installment in the trilogy of Venom on July 12th, with Tom Hardy back as Eddie Brock. It probably explains some aspects of No Way Home's ending, but I don't know. Now, the one that I skipped, of course, is the one I want to briefly discuss and expected to be delayed, as we talked on a few episodes ago, and that is with the third part of the Spider-Verse trilogy of Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. Now, initially, the film was supposed to release on March 29th of next year. However, now, it has been removed from the release calendar, and we have no idea when exactly this film is coming out. But personally, even before the strikes, I knew this film would probably get delayed. And honestly, I'm fine with this one. The Spider-Verse one is the one I'm probably the most fine with getting delayed, because I feel like at least it gives them more time to develop it and release it on a date that you actually feel like it's manageable. They can get like up to as high level scale as the first two films, and you know, it could be pretty good. So once we hear update on a new release date for that movie, I will let you know down below. But what did you think of all these delays? Do you think they're reasonable, and do you feel like any other studio is going to come along now in the next couple of days and announce more delays? Do let me know what you think down below. And with that, of course, that is the end of the news for this week.
You picked the wrong house, fool!
And with that, of course, that is the end of the 10th episode of Weird Mind Newsroom. And I hope you enjoyed listening to me rambling of all these different new releases and topics, of course. Because who else would you be listening to of all these releases? Probably all those news articles, but most people don't read anymore. Now, just to give some updates on some other concepts and what you probably expect this month, I have seen both I've seen the Barbenheimer stuff, so I will do a review on Barbie and Oppenheimer. Hopefully with my girlfriend wants to do a bit of with the Barbie one, so we'll have to see how that works out. I have plans at least to record reviews for both, for The Flash, Little Mermaid, Indiana Jones, and a few other ones I've basically have on the back burner. And as an update on my video game adaptation one, I'm probably about a third of the way edited on them. It's about five sections. I have done probably like the first 2 sections. I've got at least 3 or 4 to do. So hopefully I'm trying to have it done by the end of next week. But you know, it depends on how busy I am and other stuff coming up. But yeah. And in terms wise for stuff for next month, given this is coming out probably around the same time as the beginning of August, I will look into and review both Ninja Turtles, The Meg, and then some other ones like Haunted Mansion and Blue Beetle in the future, but we'll see how that turns out. But anyway, that's enough ramblings from me, and, I've got stuff to do today, so I hope you enjoyed listening to my ramblings, and if you enjoyed my content, you know what to do. You gotta leave a like, comment below on all the discussion points of this week and see what you're excited about and sort of opinions on different things as well. And even share around to other people. You let me know to spread this message around. And even subscribe if you happen to already. All forms of them are greatly appreciated by me. But I've rambled on enough today. I hope you enjoyed, and you gotta stay being wonderful people, because I know you all are wonderful people. And we'll say good night, good news, powering down, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Take care, everyone.